Hello, everyone, and welcome to Today with Dr. Beverly Emory. I'm Chris Runge. Thanks so much for being with us. We have a lot to talk about with Dr. Emory today, and later on, we're going to meet a hope dealer, H-O-P-E. He was recently in town. He's known around the country, in fact, around the world, and we'll hear more from him coming up in just a bit. But first, as always, welcome Dr. Emory. It's nice to see you again.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me. Very. Can't believe it's April.
Gosh, mid-April, taxes are due. I mean, time's flying.
Scary, yes.
It really is.
How fast it goes.
Yes. You talked about how, we talked about how busy you've been, and part of that is talking with the Board of Commissioners. You've been doing a lot of that lately. The school system is asking the commissioners to fund the construction of 2 new schools. We asked the commissioners initially for money to draw up designs for those schools. Where do we stand on that?
Well, Chris, last night the commissioners did take action to approve the $1.7 million for design fees only. We had been asking for the whole package, the ability to build the 2 schools, Lawrence and Con Oak, ahead of a bond issue, because for years they've been in the package and sort of shoved to the back, and the issues at those schools are such that we really need to move ahead. And then the recent issues with moving Lawrence have made that even have more of a sense of urgency to find a place and not keep moving kids around, especially kids with high needs in that mix. What I'm optimistic about is that while we had hoped they would approve an entire package, and we certainly understand why some commissioners feel like the voters should make those decisions, it has created a broader discussion about raising the debt ceiling. And that could be very good for our school system when we get to the bond issue. If we don't raise the debt ceiling, our amount we can ask the voters for will be much less than if the commissioners decide, even if they only raise it a small amount, that will have a dramatic impact on what we can ask voters for in a bond issue campaign. And so I think it was wise to sort of embed the funding of these 2 projects within the greater context of should we raise the debt ceiling for the county.
Sure. And because the move was so much in the news the early part of this year, just a quick update, they're settled in, everything's going great?
Amazingly well. Of course, we have some issues which we anticipated. Kids being in 2 different schools that belong to Haynes, traffic issues on a site that isn't necessarily set up for that much traffic, but overall far exceed our expectations for how smoothly this has all gone. And of course everybody in that mix gets credit for that, the staff in particular, but families have been very gracious to overlook some of the bumps that in a typical scenario I think we'd be hearing more from, but I hear only positives about how well this has gone.
Great. North Carolina educators recently got some pretty harsh words from a state judge, Judge Manning, that we're not providing students with a sound basic education. And this once again fueled the debate about end-of-grade testing. Should we do away with EOGs? Where do we stand on that? And if we did away with end-of-grade testing, what would replace that?
Well, it's an excellent question, and I think part of the arm wrestling that's gone on for years with accountability. First of all, I think we have to have accountability, and I think the fact that, back when we had No Child Left Behind in 2002, people groused about the subgroups and being held accountable for different subgroups of students. But in the end, if we were paying attention to all of those subgroups all along, we might not have needed that level of being under the microscope. The Andrew case has been all over, and I think that what Judge Manning keeps coming back to really underscores the challenges of improving achievement for our kids who start behind. The state of North Carolina, as well as Forsyth, we are growing these kids, but they are not proficient. They're not grade level proficient. And I think that until we stop focusing on the number and really start focusing on how do we accelerate, what does targeted instruction look like? What kind of resources do we need in classrooms and schools to do that? This is never going to change. And I think the grading system that we rolled out this spring really accentuated that, that extreme correlation. I mean, we kind of know common sense. There's a correlation between poverty and how kids do in school, but to see that extrapolated across our state, where virtually every school with a D or an F had this significant poverty rate. Well, we've got to acknowledge that. And many of those schools are growing. Kids are growing. But you all have heard me say a million times, if I'm 2 years behind when I walk in the door and you grow me a year, I'm still behind, and I'm going to stay behind. There is a commission on assessment. Our own former board member, Buddy Collins, who's on the State Board of Education, chairs that. And I think there's really been good, healthy dialogue about how can we shift from this high-stakes end-of-year test to some intermittent, more interim assessments that really help us look at that growth piece and become more diagnostic. And we're doing a lot of that. So I think the difficulty or the challenge becomes, can you use what's already going on in districts? That's different district to district. There's no way then to quantify that and have some kind of state measure. And we have to have that accountability piece. There's discussion of making end of grades every other year for every other subject. So for example, maybe I take a third grade reading test, fourth grade math, fifth grade reading, so on and so forth, so that it's not as much testing for kids. And then the question becomes, for those of us on the end that need to look at that data and make decisions with it, isn't that enough to be able, especially if you have this formative, our benchmarks, our Read 3D. I mean, we have a lot of rich formative data that give us information about kids. It's just not what we use for accountability. So I'm not sure where this is going to land. I think the ideas are good. The Department of Public Instruction is inviting school districts to pilot, but I think all of those are going to be very different, unique kinds of pilots. And I've had people say, are we going to be a pilot? No. And my only reason for that is not that I don't want us to be part of this solution, but I feel like our folks are overwhelmed, and I'm just not willing. I think we need to stay the course and work on how do we improve things for kids. And once the state decides what they're going to do, there will be a change, and that's coming. I just am not ready to ask our folks to do yet another thing on top of everything else they're doing.
And I think you're right. I think we're going to hear about it for a long time to come.
I agree. And it's not an easy task. I think this commission has worked really hard, and I think they've gone around the state and listened to all the different stakeholder groups. But finding a solution is not as simple as let's just make a recommendation here in a few months.
Right. A new report ranks North Carolina 42nd in the nation for teacher pay. It sounds bad. It's actually up a little bit from 47 the year before, but it makes it tough to recruit and retain new teachers. What are we doing locally to get new teachers to come to Winston-Salem, Forsyth County?
It's a great question. I think part of that is deciding what is the attraction for teachers. And, we have a lot of research out there that says that it's not about the money, even though people need to be able to pay their bills. And a lot of our folks work second jobs to be able to do that. But I think the other piece we've tried to focus on with this development of a whole new sort of emphasis on professional development and teacher support. How do we help teachers feel connected to their school? How do we give them meaningful feedback that isn't evaluative? The role of returning our curriculum coordinators to being teacher supports and not testing coordinators. We accomplished that in elementary this year. Our goal is to do the same at middle and high school next year. So in terms of providing that support, I think that's a good retention tool. I don't know that it's a recruitment tool. How do we get folks to want to come here? And I think that's going to become ever more challenging with no compensation for master's degrees, with states fairly close, and we're not as dramatically impacted as some of our brothers and sisters that border Virginia and South Carolina, where teacher pay is markedly greater than here. It's, people aren't going to move for $500, but people are going to move for $10,000, and where they're mobile and they can, so we don't see as much movement within the state, people leaving, or either leaving the profession or they're going out of state to take the significantly higher paying jobs. But I think we have to market ourselves as a community and not just a school system. We're a great place to live. There's lots of opportunities in our community. It's a good place to raise families. We have a great school system. So, it's sort of that holistic approach to recruitment, because we can't give people a signing bonus, or we really have to focus on what's the value in living and working in this community, and that's really been part of the strategy that we've taken here.
And it takes a lot of people to make a school system work, not just teachers. There are bus drivers, there are maintenance people, there are administrators, and we're having a big recruitment fair that's coming up in May, and we're running that information on cable too. So we're hiring for all kinds of positions. So.
In fact, some of our hardest positions this year to fill have been bus driver positions. So
right.
While we certainly have a number of teaching vacancies that we haven't seen quite the likes of in many years, bus drivers have been our most urgent issue this school year, because it has had an impact on our ability to get kids where they need to be.
Sure. Finally, as we wrap things up, we have to congratulate some current employees on some very well-deserved promotions. It's always a big deal when you get a new principal. We've got three new principals. Leslie Alexander at Reynolds, Trish Spencer is going to Union Cross, and Bob Vorbroker to Piney Grove. Not to give it any undue attention that it doesn't deserve, but Leslie Alexander, first woman to take charge at Reynolds. That's a big deal.
Yes, and we're very excited about that. I have to applaud the staff at Reynolds. I feel like they have really been introspective about where they are and what needs they have and what role they play. The vision that this is all of us. We can't just hire one person and expect them to work miracles here. I'm so excited that Leslie was interested in this job. She has the passion, instructional background. She worked at Wiley, so she understands the community and the families and the legacy that is Reynolds. So I'm really excited about the capacity of all of that school to really reach their potential, I guess. And I'm very excited for a lot of the moves we've had. Bob going to Piney Grove is the first assistant principal of lots of moves we've had this spring, and they've all been sitting principals. And that people might think I'm crazy, but that's something I've encouraged, which is, if you've been someplace for a while and you're ready for a challenge, or you feel like you can make a move and contribute in another way, you need to put your hat in the ring. And sometimes it's hard to step up and go through a process,
right.
Especially if you're already in the job, because you wonder, well, if I didn't get the job, is something wrong with me? But really all this is about match. Who's a good match? And so we've had a lot of principals. In fact, Leslie, I think, makes our fourth internal move this spring that will impact next school year. So we also are encouraged. We have a process to try to help develop our assistant principals. Bob, who's been at Clemens Elementary, is an example of that, and has worked through our assessment process for APs. So we have a really strong pool of assistant principal candidates for future vacancies in our district too.
On a personal note, talking about principals, we lost my very first principal, Geneva Brown. She was also a board member earlier this month. What a great lady. I think she left the board before you became superintendent?
In fact, yes. And her health situation has been such that I really never even got a chance to meet her personally. Certainly, I meet her all the time and her legacy, particularly of this existing group of principals, so many of whom sort of were raised by her and her impact on our district. I think from all the things I've learned, what a remarkable woman and what a pioneer. I mean, we talk about Leslie, but Geneva Brown certainly made it possible for us to see capacity years ago, and that sort of fierceness that people talk about with her. So I understand she's in a better place, but I imagine she may be organizing things there too. So.
You know she is. In the late 80s and 90s, when year-round schools were coming back and getting big, we were like, Ms. Brown did that in 1972. More laboratory school. It was year-round, 9 weeks on, 3 weeks off. She was a visionary. She really was.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. What a nice way to end talking about somebody that really paved the way for all of us.
Incredible. There's a memorial service coming up for Dr. Geneva Brown later this month, and that information is running on cable too. We're going to let you go. Thanks again. We're going to meet the Hope Dealer when we come back.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund breeding.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Information on hot water heating.
No. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out the words.
World music, playing track now.
No.
Let me try. Our daughter gets confused about which details in a story are important.
Which paper towels are most absorbent?
What?
Here are 5 product reviews.
Why are you not getting me?
See, I told you.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
Listen to me. I am captain of the track team. And if I'm late,
she doesn't really think she's going to get out of here, does she?
Be nice. She's new.
Hello, is anyone there? Ugh!
Wow. Even from our standards, you look awful.
Oh, sweetie, what happened?
Me? My friend Becky got to talk to this super cute boy, and I tried to act like I wasn't jealous, but I so totally was. And then out of nowhere, this concrete barrier just popped up. Maybe it was a semi.
You mean you were driving?
Yeah. I mean, I know the whole eyes on the road thing, but this was a super important text. Maybe you have to know, Becky.
Texting? Great.
But it was only like 5 seconds, and I'm a really, really fast texter, so it wasn't even a big deal. Actually, has she texted me back yet? Wow, I get like no bars in this place. I wonder if they have Wi-Fi here.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation letter.
You're resigning.
Why? Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you get stuff like this. You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
I forgot. I'll do better. Please, don't quit on me.
Okay, but remember, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Why is my son having trouble in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with my son over his homework.
Home walk restaurant. Need a review?
No. He's smart, but his mind wanders.
7 wonders of the world.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
Kids will spend 15 minutes watching online videos like this one.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
Hart, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit. Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just please, don't leave. Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Jeremy Bates grew up in a household that was full of dysfunction, but he managed to escape it and come out with a very sobering message aimed at high school students. In 2004, while he was finishing his degree in California, he stumbled upon a quote that would change his life. Hope has two children, anger and courage. Anger to change the way things are, and courage to make them better. That was by Caesar Augustus. He's taking his message all across the country, and the folks at Daggett Schuler Law Firm, David Daggett, Griff Schuler, you'll be familiar with them from the Safe Sober Prom Night, they brought him to several high schools in our area, and his message really hit home with the students. We're going to leave you today with a bit of that message, and we look forward to seeing you next month. I'm Chris Runge. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again.
So, the very first thing that we do in music, if we're getting ready to create something, what I typically do as a musician is I will create a little rhythm track so we can start with some rhythm on it. Rhythm? You got rhythm here too? I like that. Most of the time I get these audiences like... Now hold up on your clapping for a second. I'm gonna get you back into the clap, but listen. That's layer one. That's like us at birth. That's kind of what we put on the track right there. And as we grow, we start to experiment with things that we like, try to become better at things. So in the guitar world, that's the rhythm track, and if we want to do something else with the guitar, then we start to place a little lead, and we just start to experiment with sounds and rhythms. That's fun and all, but eventually we got to keep thickening up the track, making better choices, building our foundation in life. So then what we do is we bring in beats. Now when you came in, I got this nice drum machine right here. It costs about $800. But maybe you're like me as a kid and you were broke as a joke. You ain't got $800 to put into your mix. But in truth, you don't need $800, you just need this right here. Because everything that you need to be successful is currently inside of you. So we scrap the money and we just come with our hearts, and then we bring some beats and be like this. Two layers in, and now you're like, oh, this sounds kind of nice right here, huh? I can feel that a little bit. Like, oh, I can feel it. We just keep adding layers, choice upon choice, choice upon choice. We can add a little more if we like. Three layers in, it's getting deeper, better. Now, when we get to that point, we start adding some lyrics. Now, the things that we do in life are based on the environments that we come from, the influences that we have. And in music, it's no different. When I was a kid, I grew up in Long Beach, California. So my influences were all very much Long Beach based. Warren G, some Snoop Dogg, A-Dog, Sublime. But the very first thing I ever learned how to really rhyme that I was so excited about was a television show called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Who watched that show? Who watched it? I'm gonna test you right now, because I'm gonna go through a little medley of my influences and see how many of these you know. And if you know them, I want you to sing along, but that's the first test. We gotta rock it like this. Be like, in West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playgrounds where I spent most of my days, chilling out back and relaxing out cool. And a couple of people outside of the school, and a couple of guys, they was up to no good. Started making problems in my neighborhood. I got in one little fight. My mom got scared. She said, "You knew that one." I'm like, "Oh, look at these, you did it." And then we just keep bringing it in, right? We just keep doing more and more. Just keep doing more and more. I'll be like, so I hit the east side of the LBC on a mission trying to find Mr. Warren G. We hopping and yelling, it's a tad bit late. My name is Jeremy, I'm here to regulate. Just keep going down the line and be like, I like the way you're working, no duty. About to back it up, babe. I like the way you're working, no duty, no duty. No. I like the way you're working, about to back it up, babe. I say to back it up, babe. Right? Now you don't know that one? It's okay. I know what you listen to here. I've been studying it a little bit. I brought you what you listen to. You'd be like, the haters gonna hate. They gonna play. I'm just gonna shake it off. No. That's what you told me you listened to. No, okay. Well, eventually you leave those influences behind and you put your stamp on the track. You let yourself be known, because your influences only take you so far before you gotta start letting people know who you are. So if I leave all those influences and I wrote a little rhyme for you to explain to you who I am, I could write one, flow for you like this. I'd be like, yo, if my heart was a stereo, I'd turn up the dial and let everybody know that I dress for West Coast, sip of the rest, and at best manifest true hope to the hopeless. In fact, I'm the microphone maniac. The whole deal, I came to drop you off a little sack. No, not weed, but the drug you need to succeed and achieve and believe in yourself for your life. Get addicted to hope. It'll give you balance when you're walking life's tightrope. Guaranteed elixir when you feel you can't cope. Made Run DMC's Adidas Dove laced with the straight truth and opportunity. Like Madonna's Gap 2, there's room for you and me. No eyes wide shut possibility. See the possibility. It's the HD, the whole dealer in high def. I'm about to clarify the answers to this test. Just rewind your mind back to the time that you could see, even though you were blind. It's the HD, the whole dealer in high def. I'm about to clarify the answers to this test. Just rewind your mind back to the time that you could see, even though you were blind. HD, the whole dealer in high def. I'm about to clarify the answers to this test. Just rewind your mind back to the time that you could see, even though you were blind. HD, the whole dealer in high def. I'm about to clarify the answers to this test. Just rewind your mind back to the time that you could see, even though you were blind. HD.